So there's an old saying that you should never buy a truck at night in the dark. There's another old saying you should never buy a truck in the rain. Well, last night I bought this truck in the dark and in the rain. So, yeah, let's just take a look at it. Now, I got to add a little more commentary first before showing you guys this truck. And this is how, well, this is what's making me think of. There's always the age-old joke, you know, the guy going to the bar, getting all liquored up, partying, having a good time, meeting a gal and taking her home. Well, the next morning, things aren't as they seemed, you know, or once as they appeared the night before after 14 Pendletons and Cokes. So, I've always just kind of laughed at those jokes, like, haha, that's funny, you know. Never really had any first-hand experience with that exact scenario. But I will tell you, today I get it. I understand that joke firsthand because that is how I feel after this morning coming out here and looking at this truck. Oh, there she is, the morning after. It's something, I'll tell you that much. Now, I gotta also say and add in here, I already spent a solid morning. I'm making it look a little bit better. I put a grill, bumper, and cleaned out the inside of it because it was just literally filthy, disgusting inside. So, yeah, here it is. Still looking a little rough and a little, well, unique per se here this next morning. It looked a lot better last night in the rain and in the dark, but it's not all bad. So what is it? It's a Dooley. It's a Dooley C30. And as most of you guys know, they didn't make these. They never made a Dooley pickup in these years with a Fleetside box. Well, here's one in front of us. Well, it's because somebody made it. Somebody took step side fenders and grafted them on to a normal Fleetside bed to accommodate for the extra width of the Dooley rear axle. And it's kind of Bondo cracking out, and I think this happened really a million years ago. This is all really old work, but it's actually not all bad. It's could be worse in that department. The worst of it is, and I'll just show you guys right away. If you had a keen eye and you're already looking, you might have seen it. I think it's just funny why they do this. They didn't cut out the bed behind it, so it's got two wheel well arches. And there's plenty of clearance in between the wheel wells and the tires, but the old bed is still there. Kind of funny. I thought they would cut it out. Maybe that's how I would have done it. These guys didn't. Whatever. Here it is. It's a Dooley. It's a Dooley. Yeah. It had a C channel for a front bumper that was, I don't know, taken off of. I don't even know what they took it off of. Something green, because the backside was green. I don't even know what's going on there. It was really ugly, and it still is. But I had to make it look at least a little bit better, so I jammed a so-so grill and a bent up front bumper on it. And now at least she's got a bit of a face. Mind you, a little bit of a lazy eye. And over here, a little bit of a black eye. But she's still got this going for her, at least. And it's hard to beat Egg Crate Grill. So it's a 72 Dooley is what it looks like. C30. It does not run. It has not run in a very long time. It's missing a lot of parts. The engine's there. Transmission's there. The rear axle's there. And the rear axle is promising. But besides that, it needs a ton of work to be a running, driving thing. It's a major project for anybody. But again, maybe I'm trying to talk myself into this being great, but it's not all bad. It could be worse. Show you guys that power plant. Small block Chevy. It's been open for a long time. Who knows? I don't even know what it's from. With a very bastardized alternator mount. I don't even know what they had going on there. Very heavy duty battery tray modification they did there. Mess of wiring everywhere. The inside's terrible. It's a disaster in there. SM465 4-speed. It's got a big Dana 80 out back. Again, like I said, it looks promising. It looks clean, and it came with the story of that it was supposedly rebuilt, and the rear axle is good and fresh. What is this? Look at this. just got that. I recognize the M. It's a Motorola alternator. Huh. Automotive products. Motorola automotive products. Huh. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Motorola alternator. And it is very much frozen up and doesn't turn. Look at that. It's got a weird kind of back side. Trying to show you guys there without. Huh. Motorola alternator on the 72 C30 Dooley. The cab's 6970. It's, you know, I of course put this grill in it because it's what I had lying around. It's titled as a 67. It's got parts from 72 on the inside, parts from a 68 here. It's a little bit of a Johnny Cash truck. It's kind of all over the place, but it's a truck. It is a truck. Drum brake front. It is a 1-ton frame. I should say that too. It is a factory 1-ton deep frame. This isn't a C20 or C10 with C30 bits thrown on it. It was a factory C30. Someone swapped axles to a full width Dooley rear axle and put this bed and custom fenders on. So not a C10 that's plain a Dooley. It's a real 1-ton that is, well, now a Fleetside Dooley pickup. It might have been a looker in its day. It had a cheap silver paint job put on it. That's pretty much all flaked off by now. Show you guys the start of the mess in here. I've already cleaned this out. It was just full of rat poop and garbage, as you know, typically all are. Someone did up a fancy interior for it that's just falling apart now. But door speakers, of course. But actually, all things considering, this is the best part of the truck. The cab is really solid. It's a really nice cab. The rockers aren't falling off of it. The floorboard, nice and solid. I got underneath of it. The cab supports are solid. Underneath's nice and dry. So it's got a really nice cab, and it is a clearance light cab to boot. So it's a decent cab. If all things considered, ugly and shitty and whatever you want to call it, it's got a decent cab. It is a high hump floor, and it is a clearance light roof skin. So firewall is solid. Dash is cut, of course. It's solid above the visors up here. Sad part is, looks like it might have been hunter orange. You can see how terrible that cheap Mako silver paint job's flaking off there. That is quality. But yeah, seat isn't all that bad. It's got a tear over there, but I think it's out of an earlier truck, a 60 to 66, because the release is funny and it's a little bit narrower, maybe even earlier than one of these trucks, or the 60 to 66. I don't know. The Chevy bench seat, but it's not to this vintage. It's from something else. Yeah, I kind of almost ran out of things to talk about other than just show you guys kind of how ugly it is. Tailgates. Came from Idaho. It was an Idaho truck. Big boy. Came from a C30 Dooley square body is what that would come from. It's got factory overloads, double springs. Yeah. So supposedly this was rebuilt or, you know, checked out or played with, or maybe just the brakes. Who knows? The story always changes and whatnot. But supposedly this here was good. It does have 16s on it all the way around. No 16.5s, no split rims. So that's a plus. Tires, they hold air. That's a plus. Show you guys. Gas doesn't smell rotten because I don't think there's any in it. Hasn't been in a very long time. Probably full of water. But here, check it out. It's solid over here too. Like I was saying, the cab's real solid. It's got a little rust here starting down the corner, but really, the floor pans are decent. The rockers are nice and dry looking. I'm sure you gotta do rockers still anyways if the guy was doing it. Let's see, start a little bit right up there, kind of peeling away. But the cab support's really solid underneath and really dry looking underneath. It's got the bird poop special square body steering wheel, which, I mean, that's just kind of a good showing of what square body trucks are. Poo-poo doo-doo. I don't know what that's all about. Bird must have got caught in here and just made a mess of it. Kind of like that wiring. Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I don't really have anything funny or witty to say. It's just kind of just junk. Yeah. I'm kind of still processing this in real time as you guys are seeing it here. I'm seeing my acquisition and questioning my choices. No, this isn't all bad. I actually am happy with this. I'm happy with just about any one of these trucks. And how this came to be was a young dude got a hold of me on the 69K 2500 that you guys saw me and Devin and Chelsea pull down off the hill a while back. I cleaned the truck up and got running a bit better, put wheels and tires on it, did fix a few things, put a tailgate, made it better for what it was, and I put it up for sale. Show you guys some pictures of it here. So it's for sale on Marketplace, and this guy got a hold of me. Really nice guy. He really wanted the truck. He was saying, hey, I'm in between things right now, and just had to spend a bunch of money on some other stuff. I really want this four-wheel drive. I got half of the money, and I've got this Dooley for trade. And show me some pictures of the Dooley, and I just enjoyed talking back and forth with the guy about the truck, and I could tell that he was genuine, and you know, he really wanted the four-wheel drive, and so we did what it took to make the deal happen, and here I am with this Dooley. So I am happy because the four-wheel drive went to a great home, and I've got a bit rough and a bit goofy, but still kind of cool Dooley here in front of me to play with and to do something with. So I'm not sure what it's going to be quite yet, but we're going to have to figure it out. I got a few more things I want to clean up on it, make it look a little bit better, but I do want to decipher what that motor is. So I'm going to run side, got the wire wheel, and get that section of the block cleaned up and see if it still has a suffix code on it. All right, so we've got some, what I see as good news. So got the suffix up here cleaned up, and at first thought it might be 0 M or OME, but it actually in fact is just ME. This is an earlier block with just a 2-digit suffix. And so look that up. As you guys can see, ME, and that comes back as a 1967 327 210 horse motor. It's 327 cube and Power Glide trans per application, and it was from a Camaro is what it says. So I want to double check that. I want to make sure is that's right. Could be misstamped, could be not be that. And also there's things that are throwing me off for that because that's the wrong intake. The heads don't look right to me either upon initial first glance for, you know, 67. And it's got a big balancer down there, which a 67 327 shouldn't have. So I look at the block casting code on the back, and we've got 3914678. And that casting code can be 3 different motors: a 68302, a 68327, and a 68350. Each one of those motors, if it is from that year, and that horse would have that casting. So lines up 1968 327 210 horse. Now the suffix says 67, and this is saying 68, and by 68 they would be large balancer and large journal. And so that 2-year only, because they did in 69 as well too, but really first year for large journal 327. And only year you could get a 4-bolt main one, and only in a truck application could you get a 4-bolt main 327. That's another story for another time. So it checks out. Now we've got a year discrepancy here, but this could have been a really late 67 motor with, you know, just kind of right on the line between the two things. And I see that as being true. Now what does kind of, you know, it's a little thing that can be so easily changed out, but these are unique to 68, these valve covers. You see, they have the PVC system in them, but there's no oil fill. I pulled this one off, so of course you can see you got PVC in there, and you would have had another form of ventilation there. How do you put the oil in, right? There's no, I mean, you could pull the PVC out and put it in there, but that's not what they intended, because this motor should have had, in 68, a intake oil fill. It should have still had that same style, and it doesn't. It has the wrong intake on it. So what I'm getting at is these are 1968 only valve covers, because 67 and back are no PVC system. They're just a flat valve cover that are being scripted, you know, stamped, or just plain flat ones. So these are 68 valve covers. So that it would be correct for a 68 327. So, but what's I said there, that's not lining up, is the heads. So I that's why I had that valve cover there pulled off, and you guys see we got locks on the valve trains. Kind of hit something good. Oh, and check this out too. Let's see. You can hear the motor making noise, making compression sounds. We got valves moving. we got all sorts of stuff happening. So the plus, it's not locked up. It turns over quite nice, actually. So I'm happy about that. You can see we've got valves moving around. Those lifters probably need to be pumped up. They probably haven't got any oil in them, but we've got stuff moving around. We got stuff happening. There's no doubt in my mind this motor would run. How well, I don't know, but I guarantee you it'll run. No, I shouldn't say that. I would bet very strongly on the fact the motor would run. Heads. Okay, so yeah, I want to show you guys that. Now, the thing was, the heads don't look right, and per that year in application, and you know, a 68 327, and they're not. So I looked up the head casting, and it's 462624, and that comes back as 1979 to 85, 350 cubic inch heads from a 350 cubic inch motor, but they are 194 valves, so it makes me guess these are maybe, you know, I don't know, third gen Camaro, late third gen Z28 heads, maybe vet heads. I mean, they got big valves in them, so they're not total throwaway. Not from the glory days of horsepower, but somebody, I think, knew what they were doing. Maybe they needed, when they put this motor together, they needed accessory mounts, and so they did this. I mean, it's hard to tell. They really liked their blue. They were coating this thing in that Krylon, you know, metallic blue. It's everywhere. And what I've kind of Scooby-Dooed is that this motor is in this truck, but I don't think this motor has ever ran in this truck, because there's a lot of stuff not hooked up here. You can see it's got fresh bolts there on the pad style motor mount, and that leads me to believe that, I mean, look at everything else, it's not fresh. It's, you know, that water pump's been on this motor. This motor has ran with that water pump before. This motor has ran with this intake, everything all blue like this. I don't believe this motor has ran with those motor mounts before. Somebody went and bought those because they had to, because they put this motor, they took this motor out of something and put it in this truck, and they had to swap the motor mounts on it. And so I think this motor was in something else, and they tried putting it in this truck, and it's never essentially ran in this truck, because, I mean, nothing is, only thing it is hooked up is the fuel pump. And I'm actually going to reach underneath there. Oh, they do have the bolts in there. There's no exhaust run to this style exhaust manifold. There's no wiring running to it whatsoever. There's hardly any accessories, you know, or excuse me, there's no distributor, partial accessories up here. I mean, stuff just really isn't, oh, it is a non-power steering truck. I just realized that. So it wouldn't have had a power steering on it anyways. But I don't think it's ever been hooked up. I don't think it's ran in this truck. I think it is a motor that quite possibly could run, but it never happened in this truck. Somebody jammed this in here and was trying to make it a thing, and it never came to be. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm not getting it running in this truck either, because this motor is worthy of more, and the truck itself is also worthy of more. This isn't a good fit. Car motor in a truck can work, but this particular car motor, being an early, small cube, there's performance potential here, and who knows, this thing could be a little zinger. It just doesn't look like it's all grimy and grody, but this could be a hot little motor. They've been through it. It's got heads put on it, and who knows, could have a big lumpy cam in it, and be a hot little motor, but not really a good fit for a big heavy dually truck where you need torque and low end grunt to get out of the hole. A 327 really isn't that. That's more of a peppy, high RPM, you know, high spinning motor. So not a good fit for the truck in that sense. And really, with it isn't like this is royalty here. It's just a 327, you know, car motor, but it actually deserves to go in something that, you know, this would be cool in a 55 Chevy. This would be cool in a little Nova drag car. This would be cool in, you know, something that is, you know, kind of with performance in mind. And this truck would be better fit to have a, you know, a truck 350, a good grunty 350, or a 454, you know, or a 402, a big block put in it, where it would be better suited to the application. And you know, or a Cummins 12 valve if you're a diesel guy, whatever. It's gonna be someone else's project. I'm not doing that to it, but I'm pulling that motor out. It doesn't belong in here. It never belonged in here. It barely even went in here. It's coming out, and I'm gonna find the motor a home, and I'll likely just find the truck a home. I'm gonna take this truck I just got that I'm questioning my decision making on, and pull the motor out of it, make it so it's even more of a pile of junk. It doesn't even have a motor in it, but to me it's what makes sense, because this does not belong here. It maybe be a different story if it was running. There's a lot here to get this thing running. It needs a carb, needs a distributor, needs a radiator. There's a lot of stuff, and that's what it's going to need with any motor to run. But this is a long ways away from being running. And yeah, you could sit here and slave on it and, you know, have this thing going in a weekend. But I think time would be better spent finding a more fitting motor to put in here rather than get this one running. You guys might disagree with me in the comments and say, oh, it's the best motor ever. Yeah, I agree. It's a fantastic motor, just not where it's currently at. It does not. The motor ain't gonna see to its, the motor is not gonna see to its full potential in here, and the truck will not see to its full potential with that motor. So yeah, that kind of surprised me. It changed things. I've talked about it before on videos about checking suffix codes because you never know what it's gonna be. But here I was just kind of assuming it was just a, you know, a rattle can of blue, you know, square body, you know, whatever, 350 or 305 even. Didn't really have my hopes up, but we've got a 68 passenger car 327 on our hands here, and that's kind of cool. I mean, it's better than, it could be worse. Let's put it that way. It could be a lot worse. I actually do know somebody, my great friend JF, who is piecing together a budget Camaro, and I can't remember if it's a 68 or 67, but I think he needs a motor for it, and this would be the correct motor for that car. So I'm gonna get done with this little clip here and give him a call and tell him what I've stumbled upon here today. That I've got the motor for his car. It's even the right color. It's even the wrong right color. It ain't orange. It's the same metallic blue he's gonna be doing that car up in. You guys will check out his channel, Killer Customs. They're building a first-gen Camaro for $5 grand. He needs a budget motor just like this. Don't get more budget than that. Pulled from a big Dooley Chevy truck where it was hiding for many years, and maybe it's a little diamond in the rough. But, okay, I'm gonna get this motor popped out of here. All right, didn't take too long because it was hardly even in place, but the Camaro 327 is out of the hole. Got it sitting here, suspended by a cherry picker still. A big old rat's nest, pack rat's nest, gross, behind, well, in there with like the flywheel and clutch. You can kind of see a little bit poking through the starter hole. It's gross. Probably just gonna pop this flywheel off and vacuum the whole thing out because it's gross back in there. But it does appear to be what was a new or a surface flywheel. It's real rusty. You can see where the clutch disc has been sitting on there forever in the exact same spot. But this is nice. There's a nice smooth machine surface. The ring gear looks like it's really nice. So I think it was a new flywheel when it was put on. Who knows when that was? 15, 20, 30 years ago. Whenever it was when someone was putting this engine in this truck thinking they were getting it running again, which they obviously never did, and sat for many years, like how it is. And you can see they put a new clutch on it too. It's real clean. Disc is nice and thick still. So it's a fresh clutch. It's just a cheapy parts store one, but it's diaphragm. It's not a broken back. So yeah, we got a fresh clutch sitting here. Oh, actually, I'm curious. I am curious. No, okay, so it is truck bell housing. I was curious if it was a, yeah, no, if it was still. It's hard to tell what was going on here because they, you know, this motor was kind of just jammed in place, hardly hooked up. And like I said, I don't think it's ever ran with that motor in it. But they're using parts from the previous setup. You know, I think it's bell housing. They all painted up all white and pretty, and the clutch linkage and the pivot was all white and painted pretty at some point. It's just kind of funny. Kind of digging. Look at the clutch cover, inspection cover, and everything. Somebody took the time to paint that all white and pretty sometime, you know, back in the day. I don't know. Just kind of funny. Kind of digging through archaeological, bastardized Dooley past here, and yeah, just trying to make sense of it. Not that it really even matters. I'm just curious more than anything. But the Camaro 327 is out of the hole, and I'm gonna get this cleaned up and put on an engine stand where it will now reside safely inside until its fate is chosen. Hopefully it's gonna go in a first generation Camaro or something else cool that is more fitting than a big old giant Dooley truck that needs torque, it needs big cubes, it needs more than a little car motor to move it down the road. All right, it's getting dark on the guy out here rather quickly. I got that rat's nest cleaned up, started degreasing this engine, kind of getting ready to clean it up and pressure wash it, only to forget yet again my pressure washer is broken. So I'm gonna go buy a new one tomorrow morning, or I'm gonna borrow one from a buddy. And I got a few other little pieces here for some other stuff I need to get cleaned up. And so yeah, the 327 is out and it is degreased. It's soaking degreaser, but that's okay. I'm gonna tarp this up for the night and get this stuff covered up. There's the Dooley, motorless, looking pretty much the same. Front hardly even came up at all. Those 1-ton springs are pretty beef. It doesn't make much of a difference. Maybe came up an inch or so. But yeah, this is my new Dooley, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I got a couple points inside I want to go over before ending this here. Talking about the truck and things about the truck, things about the engine that was in the truck, and yeah, so let's get to that. All right, so I got out the book, the little Bibles per se, pocket Bibles for the small block Chevy, because I was still curious here. You can look these up online, and I usually always do it that way. It's really quick. You just pull it up on your phone. In 2 seconds, you can see what the suffix code means, what it came out of, what year, what motor, blah, blah, blah. And same goes for the casting code. You can look it up online really quickly. These books are the best way to do it, though. They're full of a lot more codes, kind of better descriptive of the code, a little more fine-tuned. It kind of will tell you what carburation the motor had, you know, what horse, and it's kind of a better telling of multiple engines belonging to a single suffix code, and it's a little easier to decipher. So anyways, these books are great. If you guys don't have one, if you're interested in kind of checking some small block Chevy stuff or big block Chevy stuff out, they make them for big block Chevys too, other motors as well. Pick one of these books up. They're great. I've had these for years, and just, yeah, never regretted this purchase. You can get them at swap meets, online, just check them out right there. Small block Chevy casting codes, small block Chevy suffix codes. And yeah, so the reason why I pulled the books back out, or out per se, to go over this again was because I was kind of still confused. The suffix is saying it's a 67 Camaro per online sources, and then the block casting code was coming up as a 68 327. So we got 67 327 on one, 68 327 on another. And so it's not a 1 year discrepancy there, but you know, what's going on with that? So I wanted to pull it up here in the books and see what the books had to say. And so again, we have a suffix code of ME. And if we come over here, we can see, sorry guys, I'm trying to film this all with one hand. Trying to be as graceful as possible about this. Get this to focus in. So ME, right there above my piece of paper. Check it out. We've got it saying it is a ME for a Camaro, which is the application. TRU, you can see above it and below it is for truck. See, there's kind of Nova, a few other descriptions of different vehicles there, but this is CIM for ME. We see actually quite a few different ones here. There's several ME suffix code applications, or however you want to call it here, it's showing. But our motor is a large journal. We know we've got a large balancer, so that was kind of throwing me off too. As for 68 is the first year for the bigger balancer, especially on a 327, and all the earlier years would be small balancer. So I knew it had to be kind of a 68 or late 67 motor, but we're showing here, again, let me slide this up. We've got a 67 Camaro right there above the paper for ME, and also 68 Camaro. So 210 horse, both power glide. That matches up to the online sources, what they're saying. It was the L32 was the engine designation, and also we'll see there 1x2, and that is the carburation. So it was a single 2-barrel motor, which also kind of goes to explain why it had that wrong 4-barrel manifold put on it, was because they got rid of the 2-barrel in that motor and put a 4-barrel factory cast iron manifold on it to have a 4-barrel on it. So kind of all makes sense. So this checks out. So that suffix also can be a 68 Camaro, not just a 67, as what the book is showing here. And this book, don't lie. Okay, so we can go and double check this also, yet again, in the other book with the casting code. So now we're here in the other book, the casting code one, and we have our match for our casting, which is 3914678, which we had written down. Online sources showed it was, the casting was correct for 68302, 68327, or even a 68350. And we're showing here the same. So, yeah, this kind of between the two of them, we narrow down what it is, because it's not a 350 per the suffix, and it's not a 302 per the suffix. It's a 327. So this checks out to be the center one there, what the suffix is saying it is. So
Yeah, 68 Camaro, 327, 210 horse Power Glide car. So it's the lowest horsepower 2-barrel. They have some hot rod 327s and 67 or 68. All 327s pretty much were hot rod 327s. Now I must say this is funny too. Okay, they got touched on this topic. I'm saying all, and I'm exaggerating a bit because they really weren't all, but they all were good motors. They came from the good years of, you know, of decent compression and good castings in the motor. The quality control was really good, you know, in those years. And some of the hottest cars at the time were 327 cars. I mean, you had factory fuel Vettes with 375 horsepower, which is 327 cubes. So you see there, I just heard, I said a word that clings to 327s, and that is Corvette. It always is a Corvette 327. That's how the story goes. It always is a Corvette 327. Oh, that's got a Vet 327 in it. Oh, that old pickup out there, it's got a Vet 327. That's probably what the guys saw who were putting this blue motor into this Dooley was like, oh yeah, it's a Vet 327. They just got told 327 and, well, it's a Vet 327. Or they just made up the assumption on their own. But the truth of it is, they put 327s in everything. And one car in particular, which was the Impala, or the Impala line per se, Impala, Biscayne, the wagons, you know, that whole family, the full size, they made a shitload of those cars, and more of them came 327 than about any other motor they offered. It was a popular motor in those cars. So when it comes down to it, there's not a lot of there are a lot of Vet 327s, but compared to the group as a whole, it's about 1 in 100 for a 327 being from a Corvette. And 99 of the other motors are from just a, per se, normal passenger car, whether it be a Nova, Camaro, or the most popular, a full-size Impala. And so, kind of funny. And it came in trucks too, of course. A lot of them were in trucks, factory. So they usually always get labeled as a Vet 327, but very few of them are. Some of them are, but not comparatively. But it doesn't matter. They're a good motor if they're from something else too. But the best ones, of course, were in Vets or, you know, high compression, high performance passenger cars. So just kind of funny. Just want to touch on that there. It is something that kind of clings to that that motor per se. You say 327 and it's almost always, or excuse me, you hear 327, it's almost always followed by Corvette 327. But not always and not often the case. Still a great motor. I'm stoked to have found this in this truck and pull it out, and I want to find it a better home. Yeah, so that's about the motor. Let's talk about the truck. All right, so let's talk about the truck. Now, some of you guys might already be in the comments saying, what the heck did you do? What'd you pull the motor up for? You know, you ruined it, or I would have done this with it. If it was mine, I would do this. That's great. It could be yours. It's for sale. I posted it for sale a couple hours ago. I already have a few people interested in it. One guy in particular, just got the phone with him. He wants to buy it and put a Cummins and a 5-speed in it and set up for towing his car trailer. So, it's a good fit. I told him how big of a project it is and how rough it is. He was fully understanding. It's clear it's not his first rodeo. He's already built a lot of other rigs and whatnot. So, seems to be a good fit. We're going back and forth. He's trying to beat the weather. It's winter time here in Washington, and he's had a few mountain passes to come over. So he's just kind of trying to plot out and plan his trip, and with the weather in mind. And it sounds likely he may be headed this way in the next couple days. So, and a few other people interested in it too. So I'm fully confident she's gonna find a new home here, and yeah, it might just be a happy ending for all. Happy ending for the kid who got the 4-wheel drive and traded me this Dooley. Happy ending for me. I'm not gonna be stuck with this Dooley and not know what to do with it. With our giant hunk of yard art. And happy ending for the motor that was in it, 68 327. I've rambled on about here for the last little bit, so it didn't get misplaced to what it was and just thrown away in the scrap dumpster because someone assumed it was a 305 or something not worth saving. So it's happy ending for that motor too. And lastly, happy ending for the truck. Seems that it's going to find its new home here shortly. So yeah, maybe it's a good day after all. Woke up kind of feeling a little funny out there looking at that truck this morning, but things can change rather quickly, and today's one of those days. So let me know in the comments, guys, what you think of the Dooley, and hope you guys enjoyed the short little video here I did on it, going over it and whatnot. And as always, more 67 to 72 content soon, guys. Thanks for watching.